If you ever find yourself driving down Old Crooked Pine Road at midnight, and you pass a rusted black gate with the name Green Hollow Cemetery etched in crumbling stone, don't stop. The air gets colder, the trees don't move even in the wind, and if you hear the voices, it's already too late. I was hired to watch over the dead here, but they don't rest. Not really. And the rules I was I didn't believe in ghosts. Not really. I thought they were just stories, fabrications of tired minds, desperation and grief clinging to the idea that something waits after death. But that was before I took the job at Green Hollow Cemetery. Before I saw what came out of the soil after midnight. Before I learned the dead don't always stay dead. I got the offer on a Tuesday evening. I was eating reheated chili in my trailer off Route 43, flipping through online job boards, looking for anything to keep me out of debt. A job post caught my eye. Night security, Green Hollow Cemetery, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Cash payment. Must follow on-site protocol. No questions. Must not be afraid of the dark. No address. Just GPS coordinates. And a phone number. Something about it felt off. But I was desperate. I called. A gravelly voice answered on the second ring. You're looking for the night shift, the man said. Not a question. A statement. Yeah. I saw the post, I replied. Cemetery. Security? There was a pause. I could hear static, then the voice again, calm and cold. You start tonight. 10 sharp. No excuses. Someone will meet you at the gate. The line went dead at 9:45 p.m. I pulled my old pickup up a cracked gravel path, headlights illuminating rusted wrought iron gates. The name Green Hollow hung above the arch in jagged, oxidized lettering. The fog curled around the trees like fingers dragging across skin. A man in a black coat stood waiting by the entrance, holding a clipboard. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, sunken eyes, skin pale as milk. You're early, he said. Good. That's rule 1. Rule 1. I asked. He handed me the clipboard. Yellowed paper. Typed out. Cold and clinical. Rules for guarding Green Hollow Cemetery. Always arrive 10 minutes early. The gate locks automatically at 10:01 p.m. Never turn your back to an open grave. If you hear scratching, do not investigate. Ignore voices that sound like loved ones. They are not real. From 12:13 a.m. to 12:19 a.m., remain inside the mausoleum. Do not look outside. If you see a woman in white beyond the fence, do not wave. Never let anyone in after midnight. Not even me. Do not count the gravestones. They change. If the bell tolls more than once, hide. If you survive until 6 o'clock a.m., leave without speaking to anyone. Wait for the call. I stared at the list. Is this a joke? He didn't smile. He just turned around and walked into the fog. My first night began with a scream. I was barely an hour in. Just getting used to the flickering flashlight and the strange, unnatural silence of the place. No crickets, no owls, just stillness. Like the land itself was holding its breath. Then I heard it. A long, guttural wail. Coming from somewhere past the tombstones. Hello? I called, walking slowly down the cobbled path, gravel crunching under my boots. Is someone out there? No reply. Just a low dragging sound. Then a crunch. A sharp metallic clang. I turned my flashlight to the left, toward the old family plots, and saw the grave. It was fresh. Still open. Dirt piled on either side. And something was moving inside it. Rule number 2. Never turn your back to an open grave. I remembered the paper in my pocket and froze. From inside the grave, pale fingers emerged. Bony, slick with mud, twitching like dead spider legs. They gripped the edge of the earth and pulled. A figure rose slowly from the pit. A man, skin the color of candle wax, eyes hollow and weeping black. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't alive, but he stared right at me. I backed away, careful not to turn, but every instinct screamed run. Then, behind me, I heard another grave begin to open, and another, and another. The ground was writhing with the sound of movement. Wood cracking, nails scraping inside caskets, earth shifting. I wanted to run, but I followed the rule. I walked backward, slow, deliberate, not turning, not blinking. By the time I reached the gatehouse, it was 12:12 a.m. I checked the list. Rule number 5. From 12:13 a.m. to 12:19 a.m., remain inside the mausoleum. Do not look outside. I sprinted. The mausoleum was old and cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. Marble walls, rows of sealed crypts, smelled like rot and damp air. I closed the heavy iron door behind me just as the clock struck 12:13. But then I heard it. Knocking, not from the door. From inside the crypts. Thud, thud, SCRATCH. And then the voices. Evan, come outside. Don't be afraid. It's us. It was my brother's voice. He died 3 years ago. I stood in the center of the mausoleum, hands over my ears, whispering, they're not real. They're not real. They're not real. But they sounded real. The walls began to vibrate. The light bulb above me flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. I didn't look out the slit windows. I followed the rule. And when the clock struck 12:19 a.m., it stopped. All of it. Silence. The rest of the night passed in a blur of fear. I didn't investigate the scratching. I didn't wave to the woman in white. And when a man in a security uniform came to the gate at 2:44 a.m., pleading to be let in, begging me, saying, it's cold out here, please. I didn't open the gate. I just stood there and watched as his skin peeled away and his smile grew too wide. At 6 a.m., the cemetery grew silent again. The fog cleared, the air warmed slightly, and my phone rang. The same voice from before. You made it through the first night, he said. They'll start testing you now. I didn't ask what that meant, but I've been working here for 7 nights now. And every time, the rules change slightly. Some get longer. Some get scratched out entirely. But one thing has become clear. This cemetery doesn't just hold the dead. It feeds on the living. And if I break the rules, even once, I'll be buried alive. Last night, I saw a boy crawl out of his own grave and whisper my name. The night before, I watched a man in a deputy's uniform melt through the cemetery fence. Tonight, the bells rang twice. They're only supposed to ring once, at dawn. I know what the rules say, but I broke one. And now something is walking behind me. The morning after my first shift, I drove home in silence, hands trembling on the steering wheel, trying to convince myself I hadn't lost my mind. The birds were singing. The sun was warm. And for a moment, I believed it had all been a bad dream. But the mud on my boots said otherwise. And so did the new set of rules that had been taped to my front door. Updated rules for Green Hollow. Night 2, you will notice changes. Do not acknowledge them. The statue of the angel now faces west. Do not stand in its shadow. If the bell tolls more than once, hide immediately and do not breathe. Stay away from plot 43. It has been reopened. Do not engage with the boy in the baseball cap. He is not lost. At 3:33 a.m., the graves will whisper. Whisper back, but only in Latin. Do not check your phone between 2 a.m. and 2:09 a.m. Your reflection will answer instead. If you see yourself, run. The first shift had been hell. But this was a nightmare growing legs. That evening, I stood at the gates again by 9:50 p.m. The graveyard seemed darker, more twisted. The wrought iron fence looked taller. The trees had shifted position. The angel statue that once faced the chapel now stood with its wings arched toward the woods. Its face was smeared with something black, eyes gouged out. I avoided its shadow. I unlocked the gate, stepped inside, and the air changed. Heavier, wetter, like the sky had sunk closer to the ground. And then, the bell rang. Once. At exactly 10 p.m., the usual start of shift. I breathed out in relief. But then, it rang again, twice, and the sky went silent. Rule number 3. If the bell tolls more than once, hide immediately and do not breathe. I dove into the maintenance shed behind the mausoleum. Slammed the door. Dropped to the ground. Then I heard it. Footsteps. But not walking, dragging. Something heavy. Wet. It shuffled across the gravel path. Slow but sure. I covered my mouth, trying to steady my breathing. The shed was pitch black. Outside, the dragging stopped. Then, a soft knocking on the shed wall. 1 knock. Pause. 2 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Then a whisper, raspy and close, like it was pressed right up to the wood. Evan, you looked at the graves. You looked too long. I didn't breathe. It stayed there for nearly 5 minutes. I could feel its weight in the air. A presence, cold and hollow, like something dead but hungry. And then silence, when I finally stepped outside again. The fog had thickened. The world felt wrong. And someone was sitting on the cemetery bench. A little boy, maybe 9 years old. Blue hoodie, baseball cap pulled low. Pale skin, lips cracked and gray. He stared at me without Blinking, I remembered the rule. Do not engage with the boy in the baseball cap. He is not lost. I tried to walk past him, that's when he grinned. His mouth opened, wider than humanly possible, cheeks tearing slightly at the corners. And from that black mouth, he whispered something that stopped me cold. You left the mausoleum at 12:18 last night. I froze, he knew. I was watching, he said, standing now. We all were. Then he turned and ran. Not walked. Ran toward plot 43, the one I'd been warned to avoid, that I should have left it alone. But I followed him. Plot 43 wasn't there the night before. Tonight, it was, surrounded by dead, thorny roses. The ground was pulsing, like a heartbeat under the soil. The boy knelt beside it and whispered into the grave, and something whispered. Back, I backed away, but the ground split open behind me. I fell backward into a shallow ditch and landed hard on something solid, wood. A casket. The lid creaked, and I saw my own face looking up at me from the coffin. Eyes closed. Skin pale. Blood leaking from my nose. Then the eyes opened. You're already dead. You just haven't stopped breathing yet. I scrambled out of the ditch, heart pounding. My flashlight flickered violently. When I looked back, the grave was gone. So was the boy. The rest of the night devolved into a parade of terror. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. I remembered the rule. Do not check your phone from 2:00 to 2:09. I didn't answer, but it kept ringing. Over and over and over to 2:06 a.m. I caved. I looked at my lock screen was a photo of me. But not from that night. It was a photo of me, lying dead inside a coffin, my eyes stitched shut, and the reflection on the phone's surface? It wasn't me. It was a version of me, rotting, grinning, lips peeled back like they'd been cut open. The reflection whispered, "The grave is ready." By 3:33 a.m., I was standing in the center of the cemetery. The fog parted, the wind stopped, and the graves began to whisper. Thousands of voices, chanting, calling my name. I dropped to my knees, covered my ears. Then I remembered. Rule number 6. Whisper back, but only in Latin. I didn't know Latin. But I said the only thing I could remember from a Catholic funeral, Requiem aeternam dona eis Domini. Suddenly, silence, dead silence, and the sound of a single bell. Not from the chapel, from beneath the ground. Something laughed. At 6 a.m. The sun didn't rise, the fog didn't clear, and my phone didn't ring. I was still stuck inside Green Hollow. The gate wouldn't open. I banged on it until my fists bled. Then I saw the man from the first night, the one who gave me the rules. He stood just beyond the gate, smiling, pale, hollow-eyed. His skin looked wrong. He waved once, then turned and walked straight into a gravestone, through it, and disappeared. There are more rules now, new ones, carved into the inside of my truck windshield in backward letters. And tonight, I heard something even worse. A name. My father's voice, whispering from plot 43. He's been dead for 12 years. The dead whisper under the soil. But last night, they spoke in my father's voice. I found a grave that wasn't there the night before, and inside it was me, still breathing, still trapped. The cemetery gate won't open anymore. The rules have changed again, and now there's a new sound spreading through the graves. Laughter, but in Green Hollow Cemetery, laughter means someone is pretending to be human. I've stopped asking if I'm dreaming. The pain in my fingers where I punched the gate, the weight in my chest when the shadows crowd me, the feeling of something watching me from inside the gravestones. It's all real now. On my third night, I didn't drive to the cemetery because I never left. When 6 a.m. came after the second night, the gates didn't open. My truck was still parked outside, but when I sat behind the wheel, it wouldn't start. The key turned, the engine clicked, but something behind me whispered, "You still have work to do." I slept in the mausoleum. The air inside was dry and sour, the scent of flowers long decayed. The stone slab beneath me was cold. I didn't really sleep. I just shut down for a while. And at exactly 9:49 p.m., I woke up to a new set of rules carved into the inside of the stone, literally scratched into the marble. They weren't on paper anymore. They didn't want me to lose them. Green Hollow. Night 3 protocol. If you hear laughter, do not laugh back. The dead hate mockery. The angel statue will cry between 11 to 11:07 p.m. If you witness this, cry too, or she will think you're mocking her. Do not follow the man with no eyes. If a grave opens for you, walk away. No matter what's inside. Never speak your full name aloud past 3 a.m. Names have weight. At 4:44 a.m., if the grass begins to move, lie flat. Avoid the mirror propped against the chapel door. It reflects what waits to crawl into you. If you find your own belongings somewhere unfamiliar, don't touch them. From now on, the bell lies at exactly 10 p.m. The bell tolled. Once. Then again. And then a third time that I didn't hide. I was already underground, and the laughter started right after the third toll that echoed through the trees. Not joyous, not even human. Mocking, scraping, choking. Like someone trying to remember how to laugh. I left the mausoleum slowly, flashlight in hand, boots crunching gravel. The air was wet, sticky like breath. Every headstone I passed looked slightly different than the night before. Some had grown moss overnight. Some were cracked open. And then, I saw it. A mirror leaned against the chapel door. Oval frame. Victorian. Surface fogged with cold. Rule 7. Avoid the mirror propped against the chapel door. But I swear to God, my own face looked back at me from it. But my reflection was grinning, and my real mouth was closed. I turned away. Fast. But behind me, the laughter came again. Closer this time. I ran toward the northeast plot, toward a row of headstones with no names. Just numbers. The dead were whispering again. But they weren't chanting anymore. They were laughing. All of them. A choir of dry lungs trying to pretend they remembered joy. Somewhere between plot 19 and the cracked angel statue, I heard it. Evan, my name, said in my mother's voice. But she'd been gone 6 years. I turned too quickly. Panic reaction. And standing right there, on top of grave 83, was a woman in a funeral dress, black veil, pale hands. Her mouth was wide open, and inside it was a second face. Twisting, smiling. She took a step toward me, another, silent, and then she started to laugh. I ran, not heroically, not bravely. Like an animal running from fire. I ran until my lungs ached and the fog thickened around me like cement, and that's when I saw the grave, fresh, dirt perfectly piled, and on the headstone, chiseled deep, Evan Bryce. 1994? It was my grave. I fell to my knees. This is a joke. This is AF * King joke. The dirt shifted, and the grave opened itself. Inside, a tape recorder, just a dusty, old-school recorder. Still running. I picked it up. Pressed play. It whispered, "We only made the grave to see if you'd come." And you did. I threw it. I turned. And that's when I saw the man with no eyes. He stood by the chapel gate, suit, tie, no eyes, just black craters where they should be. Skin taut and gray, like paper stretched too tight. He raised his arms slowly and pointed. Behind me. I turned again, just in time to see myself stepping out of the grave. Same clothes, same wounds, but smiling, wide. Wrong. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was back in the mausoleum, but something was different. The marble floor was wet, with red footprints, and my reflection was still smiling in the mausoleum glass. Now, it's 4:43 a.m. The grass has started to move. Long, slow ripples like something crawling beneath the cemetery soil. I lay flat, just like the rules said, and as I pressed my body to the ground, I heard hundreds of voices whisper beneath me. Some were laughing, some were crying, and one whispered, "He broke the rule." At 6 a.m., there was no bell. No gate opening. Just a new note carved into the chapel's wall that the final night awaits. One more mistake, and you stay here. Forever. The rules have changed every night. Some were scratched into stone, others whispered through the mouths of the dead. But tonight, there is no list, no gatekeeper, no phone call. Only one message carved into the wall of the mausoleum. The final rule can never be spoken aloud. And I think I already broke it. It's hard to know what time it is anymore. The sun never rises in Green Hollow. Not for me. The clock on my wrist spins aimlessly, the hour hand stuck somewhere between forever and too late. After 3 nights of surviving this godforsaken place, I've come to understand something crucial. This cemetery isn't just haunted. It's alive. It's a machine, built on grief, memory, and silence. And I'm part of it now. I sat in the mausoleum, fingers frozen around a rusted shovel I'd taken from the shed. I hadn't slept. Not since I saw myself crawl out of my own grave. There were no new printed rules tonight. No clipboard. No text message. but there was something scratched into the far wall. The final rule can never be spoken aloud. And below it, in slanted letters. If you read this, it's already inside you. 10 p.m. came and went at no belled, no fog at first. Just stillness. Then, the laughter returned. Faint. Distant. But then closer. Inside the chapel. Then outside the mausoleum. Then behind my ears. As if it were leaking straight into my thoughts. You shouldn't have read it. You weren't supposed to stay. You knew the rules. You knew what not to do. Voices. Not a voice. Mine. A dozen versions of me. All overlapping. Suddenly, the candles in the mausoleum lit themselves. One by one. Each with a pop and a hiss. And then, the marble crypt at the center of the mausoleum cracked open. The lid slid, revealing not bones, but a mirror. Not like the one before. This one was rippling, like water held upright in a glass frame. Something was pulling at me, drawing me forward, and then I heard a child's voice. If you touch it, you'll see it all. I turned. There he was again, the boy in the baseball cap, except now, he was missing his face. Just smooth skin where eyes, nose, and mouth should be, like wet wax melting. Who are you? I asked, voice trembling, but he tilted his head. I'm the one who broke the final rule last time. Then he vanished. Like a breath on glass that I turned back to the mirror and reached out, fingertips brushing the cold, liquid-like surface. And the instant I made contact, I was somewhere else. That it wasn't a memory. It wasn't a vision. It was Green Hollow before the graves, just a wide clearing in the woods. Dozens of men digging holes in a circle. No coffins, just pits, and a man, in black, standing in the center, reading from a book made of flesh. The air rippled with each word he spoke. Behind him, a door, not a crypt, not a chapel, a door, suspended in the air, nailed shut from the inside, and it was bleeding. Then, boom! I was back in the mausoleum. The mirror was gone, and in its place, a list. A final list. Green Hollow. Final night. Don't speak your own name. Don't think in full sentences. Don't open the chapel door. Don't follow the light beneath the graves. Don't try to leave. Don't remember what you saw in the mirror. And above all else, do not read rule #7. I couldn't help it. I read it. And suddenly, I remembered. Something I'd never known. This isn't a job. This is a test. Green Hollow is a filter built to catch people like me. People who've seen death, walked near its edge, or tempted it one too many times. And I failed. Because I'd broken every single rule. The air started to vibrate. The graves began to breathe. One by one, hands emerged from the soil. But this time, they weren't crawling out. They were pulling something in. The ground was opening. And a door, the one from the vision, rose from the center of the cemetery. It hung in. The air, chained, bleeding, locked from within. Then, the sky ripped. I saw faces I didn't recognize. People buried in the cemetery, screaming without mouths, their eyes stitched open. One of them was me. I ran to the chapel. The mirror was back. This time, it didn't show me. It showed a version of the world where I never took the job, where I said no, where I was safe. But when I reached to touch it, the mirror shattered, and out of it stepped the other me, the one who never made mistakes, the one who followed every rule perfectly. He whispered, "There is only room for one of us," and lunged. We fought in the rain, among the graves. He was faster, stronger, colder. He didn't bleed when I struck him. He laughed when I screamed, and when I finally stabbed him through the chest with a rusted metal cross from one of the graves, he whispered one final thing as he fell. "Now you take my place." The sky cleared. The gate opened. The bell tolled once. The first sunrise in 4 days poured across the stones. I stumbled out, bleeding, broken, but alive. At least I thought I was. It's been 2 weeks. I'm home now. But every night at 10 o'clock p.m., I hear the bell, not from the cemetery, from my closet. And this morning, I found a note under my pillow, burned into old paper, stinking of dirt and ash. The final rule can never be spoken aloud, but you wrote it. And now, we've buried you again.